Okay guys, we've done our compression test. I'm going to take my spark plug and put it back in carefully, making sure that I do not cross thread anything. It should go in perfect and smooth. I do not want any debris to drop down in that hole while I'm working on taking apart the rest of the engine. So I'm going to snug it down as tight as I can with my hand.
And if you could see, he's turned it at least 2-3 times by hand. If it doesn't at least turn 2 or 3 times by hand, it will not tighten the proper way, and you'll cross thread it and you'll ruin the head of the engine. You can see how our socket fits on there real nice. And when Mr. Diorio goes to snug it up, you don't need very much torque to snug it down. Again, too much can ruin the engine.
That's it.
That's it. Just snug. Alright. Our next step, if I turn the engine around here, is we're going to take off this plastic shroud here. Okay. Our first step, in order for the shroud to come off, I obviously am going to need to pull this handle off, and it just simply slides off. It's what's called an interference fit. It's just kind of pushed onto there. So we're going to take this and we're going to start making our pile and start labeling our parts for our plastic shroud or our plastic cover here.
This looks like it's an 8mm socket, Mr. Jerzyk.
Okay, get my 8 mil. There is a bolt up here. And since this is a plastic part, and it's not really doing much besides just holding our air filter in place, it's not going to be very tight at all, and when we go to put it back together, you don't need to really crank this down that hard. Okay. There should be, I believe, another 8mm on that side. Okay, we got that off. And on this side, we have 2 10mm. Now, these 2 nuts are a little bit more important because they're not only holding on our shroud, it's holding on our carburetor too. So we need to be careful disassembling this. Need my wrench again. Pull this off. Just one nut. Our other nut, and you can see how we taped all those parts together. We're going to label that plastic shroud, plastic part, the part that covers the throttle, the part between the gas tank and the starter, whatever you want to call it, so you know where it goes. That's the most important part. Okay? So now, I could go ahead and remove very carefully. Oh, that's a good idea.
Take a quick picture, Mr. Jerzyk.
Just to document this. And even if you don't have a camera, you could draw yourself a little picture. Okay, this is all going to come off as an assembly. You don't want to force it. You don't want to just start pulling on stuff. You have to move a little bit here. Seems to be binding up here a little bit. And I could pull it all off as an assembly. A little tip here, a lot of interiors of vehicles and parts like this, sometimes they like to hide screws behind stickers. So if you're ever trying to take something apart and it doesn't want to come apart quite right, sometimes you have to take off the sticker and you could get to the fasteners on that side. A little tip there for you. I'm going to set this aside. I have another gasket here. Seems to be intact. I could get it off without destroying it very, very carefully. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that with the rest of my parts. Okay.